welcome back to the farm. If you're new here, I'm Nina. I'm a homeschooling, homesteading mom of 4, ages 8 to 3, and I am married to Daniel. Here on my channel, we talk all about homemaking, homeschooling, and homesteading. Today's video is going to be a fun one. I'm joined by other moms as we talk about our favorite mom books. This is a collab that I'm hosting, and we are recommending to you guys and talking all about different books that we like, that we love, and inspire us on a number of different topics, from nonfiction to fiction to pleasure reading to homeschooling, homesteading, self-help, anything that we could think of that we love. So don't forget, down in the description, there's going to be a playlist that has all of the videos that the other moms have done. So go check those out when you get done watching this video. So if that is something that interests you, stay tuned as we dig into some fun books. Okay, so I'm gonna break my books up into different categories. So I have pleasure reading, which is kind of my fiction books, and then I have like self-help, more on the Christian realm of things, and then I have homesteading and homeschooling that I've broken my books down into. So first, I'm going to talk about my pleasure reading books. I love any book that is in like the pioneer era of history, so like the 1800s into like early 1900s, and just kind of that era, like I guess you would call it Little House on the Prairie area. I don't know. But anyway, and one of my favorite authors that I have just fallen in love with is Jeanette Oke. You might be familiar with some of her stuff as it is turned into movies on the Hallmark Channel. So like When Calls the Heart is very popular right now, and it is one of her books that's been turned into a movie, or it's right now a TV show. This is called Love Comes Softly. Is the series. I got this for Christmas several years ago. I think I got this before we had kids. So it's a series of 8 books, and it follows this family of Marty and Clark Davis. I had to think of that for a minute. And goes through the convenience of their marriage and just how they come to fall in love. And then the whole series follows their family as they move on. And then, like I said, it's in the pioneer era and of like the moving west type thing. Really good books. If you might have seen these, I think these are all movies on Hallmark Channel. So they're from several years ago. You would have to go back and dig them up. But if you like that kind of era in history, it's a really good series. I love it a lot. So like I said, it's 8 books. It includes Love Comes Softly, Love's Enduring Promise, Love's Long Journey, Love's Abiding Joy, Love's Unending Legacy, Love's Unfolding Dream, Love Takes Wings, and Love Finds a Home. So I will link all of this series and all of the books I talk about today in the description down below, and you can check those out if you're interested in any of these. Not everything that I have that I'm going to talk about I have to show you, because the other way that I consume books is on Audible. We have an Audible account, and so I will be talking about, I have my computer pulled up so that I can look at some of the books that I've enjoyed, that I consumed over the last couple of years that I love. So let's move on to self-help type books. One of my favorites, and I have all of her books, but this one is my favorite, is A Simplified Life by Emily Ley. She walks you through the process of decluttering and just simplifying your life, and so that you can focus on what really matters. I love a lot of things that she talks about in this book. It's very, very easy to read. It's a very easy read. It's colorful. She puts pictures through it, and it's like and also kind of a workbook. She puts pages where you can write and just kind of work through the process of simplifying your life. So this is another good one. Becoming Mom Strong by Heidi St. John. If you're in the homeschooling world, you've probably heard of her. This is just an empowering book of helping you take on your role as being a mother from a biblical perspective. And there's even a Bible study that goes along with this. I have the Bible study, I just didn't pull it out. But this is a great book. It's how to fight with all that's in you for your family and your faith, and just helping you to really dig in God's word and to take your role as being mom, just not seriously, but just embracing it, I guess. So yeah, it says, have you ever looked into the faces of the people who call you mom and wonder what in the world you've gotten yourself into? You know, it's not a lot. So it's very encouraging book. Another book, and I guess this is kind of it's not really a self-help, it's more of a pleasure, but I put it in this category. It could also be homeschooling, is Love Without Borders by Angela Braniff. She is on YouTube as well. She is the creator of This Gathered Nest. And if you do not follow this family, you need to go do that right now. Well, after you finish watching my video, you need to go follow this family. They have two biological daughters, and they have adopted the rest through domestic adoption and international adoption, and they have even done embryo adoption. So she talks about their journey through that, and how God was just all in the midst of it, and how he worked on her through that, and then how each of the adoptions went. It's a very, very good book. It's an easy read. And there's even pictures of their family in here in the middle through the years. So a really good book. We have talked about adoption possibly in the future just as an option. And I just love following their family. And I had ordered this book on pre-order, and I was so anxious to read it just because I love Angela's personality from following her on Instagram and YouTube. I even went and downloaded the book on Audible, and she is the like narrator through the book, so she reads the book to you, and like it was even better I finally got the book in my hand. I'd started it, and then I finally got the book in my hand, so I would sit or like kind of read along with her, reading the book to me, and you could just tell her, you could hear her like tones, and so you were better able to understand like her feeling behind it. And she is a little sarcastic, so you could hear some of her sarcasm and stuff like that. Really, really great book. I would highly recommend this one. So another self-help book, Christian self-help book, as I love anything by Max Lucado, this is Anxious for Nothing. So last year when the pandemic hit, he may continue to do online Bible studies, but I know that they really started promoting it when the pandemic hit. And this walks you through Philippians 4:6-7, which is one of my life verses. I have struggled with anxiety and panic attacks and just being anxious most of my, like, since like junior year of high school into all of my adulthood. And so this was a really good book as we entered into just a time of being uncertain and not knowing what in the world was going on. And it was just a really good read. I have tons of stuff in this book. Underline, I write in books. I'm bad about that. But just underline stuff. Your anxiety decreases as the understanding of your Father increases. So it walks you through that passage, and he just lays it out very well. And we did the video Bible study, and so just listening to him talk is so soothing, and he can communicate things very well. So this was a very good read. If you are struggling with anxiety, I would highly get this. Okay, so again, along the lines of anxiety and dealing with panic attacks, another book that I love and that I listened to last year on Audible is You Are Free by Rebecca Lyons. And it just walks through her journey of dealing with anxiety and panic attacks and how God brought her through that. And just she encourages you to release yourself from the expectations of others, and just being able to give yourself permission to grieve past experiences, and just throwing off the self-condemnation that we can give ourselves when we struggle with that. So a really, really, really great book. So another one of her books is Rhythms of Renewal. It's the tagline is trading stress and anxiety for a life of peace and purpose. So she goes through this book and she just talks about how her daily routine and rhythms kind of help her deal with the stress and anxiety that comes along in her life. She helps you to discover how to take charge of your emotional health, and inspire you to inspire your loved ones to do the same. Overcome anxiety by establishing daily habits, finding joy through restoring relationships in your family and community, and walk in confidence with the unique gifts that you have to offer to the world. Sorry, I was reading the description on Audible so that I would remember, because I don't have the book in front of me to be able to do that. But really great book. Both of those books by Rebecca Lyons are awesome if you're dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. And in the current climate of our world, who is not dealing with those? I have walked through that in multiple seasons of my life. It seems to be something that comes up again and again and again. So if you would like for me to talk more about that and my journey through it, let me know down in the comments below. I will share it. It gives me a little bit of anxiety because that's an area of vulnerability for me to walk through that on camera with somebody else possibly seeing this. So I have come a long way through that journey. So next would be homeschooling books. The one homeschooling book that I have with me to show you is Homeschool Basics by Trisha Goyer and Christy Clover. I followed her on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. That's Christy Clover, by the way. And she does a really good job of like, this is how to set up, this is how you get into it, this is a more of like a how-to book. It talks about how to get started, keep motivated, and bring out the best in your kids. It's a very step-by-step book, and it goes kind of back and forth because they wrote it together. So it'll say, like, in a chapter, it'll say Christy, and then on another one it may say Trisha. So you kind of know who's coming back, who's talking about each one. And then at the end of the chapters, it's got our prayer. And so it's just a prayer that they're praying over you as the reader, as you're considering homeschooling or getting started. It's a very like tactical book of like how to get started and just being successful. And it's got it says it covers the top 10 tips for successful first year, getting beyond your fears, homeschooling with multiple children, even little ones, strategies for when you feel overwhelmed or behind, planning for your year with confidence, and keeping your sanity with homeschooling and housekeeping. So a really great book. And you can find this on Amazon, and I think you can find it on Christy Clover's website, but I will link to it below. And another homeschooling book I have for you is Homeschool Bravely by Jamie Erickson. This book was just a good kick in the pants that I needed right before school started this past year. She talks about just how to kind of quiet the voices of like you're not good enough and you are not equipped and you don't have everything you need, and how to combat the naysayers, and just gives you that good pep talk, as I would call it. It was a good pep talk, as in if this is a calling from the Lord, you know you're supposed to be doing it, then you can do it. God will equip you with everything that you need. It was a very, very, very good book. It says here, reclaim your hope, renew your purpose, and transform your homeschool, because the truth is God will use every part of your homeschool, even your fears, faults, and failures, to weave good plans for your kids. And so I really needed that right before school started. So I recommend that book. It's Homeschool Bravely by Jamie Erickson. And the last homeschool book I have for you is Call to the Wild and Free by Ainsley Armit. I think I said that right. Ainsley Armit. This is another one is just a good book that giving you permission to kind of let go of your expectations and just kind of let go and just be free with your homeschooling to cultivate awe and wonder and discovery and all of that back into your homeschool. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think she has a community called Wild and Free, and this goes along with that, and it is just a very good approach to homeschooling of like how schooling was done back in the day and how it's just gone by the wayside. We put a ton of pressure on ourselves and our kids and how to get back to that. So a very good read, good listen. That one was another one that was on Audible that I really, really, really enjoyed. So now I'm going to move into books for homesteading. These are just some books that we have picked up over the years as we have began to get into homesteading and how we've continued and just kind of grown our knowledge of what we are doing, because sometimes we feel like we aren't really sure we know what we're doing. And I have a degree in agriculture, which is crazy because a lot of times I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel that way with a lot of things. But these are just some books that have inspired us and helped us along the way to get started. Okay, so first up, I think we found this one at our local Tractor Supply. This is kind of where we got started. It's the Backyard Homestead. It is how to produce food on just a 1/4 acre. So it walks through everything from planting trees to animals to beekeeping to food preservation, growing from seeds, anything and everything you can think of that would be on a small homestead. So if you are kind of like in on small acreage or something, this would be a good book to start with. Very informational, kind of skims the surface of everything, and you can kind of dive in deeper with some other books. The stories guides to whatever you are interested in are great places to kind of dive deeper into things. So we once upon a time had rabbits and chicken. We still have chickens, and then we had sheep at one time. So we have these kind of go in a little more depth of like what you're specific to as far as raising certain animals or crops or that type of thing. But these are good guides to kind of get a more like a how-to type thing. We have been to the Mother Earth News Fair several times. If you haven't heard of it, I'm not sure if they're having it this year or not. I don't think they had it last year because of the pandemic, but I will link to that below. And at the Mother Earth News Fair, they have lots of speakers, and then they have this big, huge bookstore where you can go in and get tons of books about everything. So these next books all came from the Mother Earth News Fair. So I will link to those below so that you can check those out. This book is the Independent Farmstead, and we actually listened to a talk from this couple. It is Sean and Beth Daughtery. They have a farm in, I think Virginia is where they're out of. And they took a terrible piece of property and they turned it into this lush green homestead through rotational grazing. And they talk about this in their book and how they were able to get good soil and nutrient dense rich food, whether it's through livestock or produce out of it. And so this was has been a really good book to kind of go back to. A good book that I like to just refer to for different tips is 101 Organic Gardening Hacks, because I can do the animal stuff and don't really need a lot of help, but gardening I need a little more help on. So this just gives you little different tips and tricks of using coffee filters to strain out to strain the drain as far as like in your pots and stuff. And then she also talks about in here soaking your bulbs and giving seeds a soak to help them sprout, growing bee flower, changing wine bottles into water bottles, just different hacks like that. I thought it was very interesting. And this is by Shauna Cordato. I'm sure I botched that, but this is just a neat, interesting book. And in the world of homesteading, if I did not mention Joel Salatin, who would I be? So we actually, Dina just picked this book up and read the inside cover and was like, I think we need to read that. And then when we got into reading it, we were like, well, that took an interesting twist. But we actually saw him. He autographed this book for us. This past fall, we rode by his farm when we were in Virginia, but this is The Marvelous Pigness of Pigs, and it's respecting and caring for all God's creatures. And so it just talks about how to be good stewards of the earth and how we are entrusted to take care of it. And he goes into making things a little more sustainable and just a different perspective. He can be a little hard to read. He is one of the people that I like to listen to on Audible, but I also have the book if I need to like go in and like look at it or something. But it's a chapter book. It's just him talking in his thoughts. It's not really a how-to book. But it says, this Christian libertarian farmer, Joel Salatin, clarion call to honor animals and the land, to return to producing food based on spiritual practices. Read The Marvelous Pigness of Pigs and you will understand. So this is an interesting read. We have recommended this to people several times to read if you are just kind of like thinking of moving towards like a more natural, sustainable living on your homestead. So I think that is everything that I've gotten through. My pile is empty on this side. It's full on this side. So I hope that some of those books you will check out, you found interesting. I am really terrible about like once I read something, I kind of forget what it's about until I go back and read it again. So it was a little hard for me to try to describe some of the books, but there are things that I really, really have enjoyed, and I'm not much of a reader. I've more into my adult life as I gotten into reading. But anyway, don't forget to check out the playlist below and check out all the other videos from other moms that suggested books. And if you haven't already and you're new to this channel, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. And we will catch you again in another video very soon. Bye guys.